Hey, welcome to Dev Radio. We are kicking off our November hackathon, and I am here with Ken Granderson, who came up with a great idea that we put in as one of our challenges um, for the hackathon. So, if when you're up late at night trying to get your project in for the deadline, you chose Ken's idea, and but we're here to meet Ken and get his thoughts, and hopefully be real helpful for you all. So, Ken, thank you. You and I we met. I had presented to Blacks in Technology, an organization that's very much involved in this program. I think I was presenting on a hackathon project from the last hackathon. It was probably that presentation where I was talking about the heirs property issues with the organization in Atlanta. And then you reached out to me afterwards and you said, "Hey, this is some stuff I've done." I was like, "Whoa, this guy! I want to talk to this guy. This guy's interesting." And we've had a bunch of great conversations. So I've been looking forward to this all day. I'll be quiet. You introduce yourself. Yeah. Oh, wait. That thing happened with your microphone again. This is a Windows problem, folks. We were talking about this before.
Yep, no worries.
Yep, okay.
When I switch around a lot, sometimes my mic ends up disabling and going down to volume 8. All right. I'm at volume 67 now, which I think is going to be okay. So Matt, yay. Thank you. And yes, we do have really, really great talks. It's always good to chop it up with a nerd.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. So where would you like me to start? You gotta keep me on focus because I'll go.
Well, let's start with. So the purpose of this program, the hackathon, is, Microsoft, my job at Microsoft is to be sure that we've got a lot of people who are totally qualified and know how to build AI apps on Azure. People from every background. We've got to be completely inclusive. We've got to have, I want to support, organizations like Blacks in Technology, Women in Cloud, the Society of, Hispanic Professional Engineers, all the groups who are participating here. So let's start there. You are, to tell us a little bit about blackfacts.com, why you do it. And we can talk about MIT. There's so much there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll tell you what. How about this, right? Remember, I was showing you a couple of things where, back in 1991, I purchased a couple of books. This is one of them.
Yeah.
Windows 3 by Charles Petzold, and the other was Windows 3: A Developer's Guide by Jeffrey Richter.
Yeah.
And I taught myself how to program. That put me on a trajectory where I did some programs called shareware programs that were in different books. One of my programs ended up in this book, Windows Gizmos.
Before GitHub.
Oh yeah.
You put, this is where your software ended up. Yeah.
Yeah. And and something about this, I got $20 for everyone who registered my program, right? So there was a diskette in the back of the book, and people would try it for free. But because I was adding features to the Windows Program Manager, I had the opportunity to use what was called a nag screen. So when you start your machine up, if you're using my little visual customizer, you saw this screen with my Inner City Software company logo. Pay me $20 and it goes away. I got 2,000 folks to pay me $20. If you hear fire engine, it's because I'm in New York. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and that's
what it sounds like.
That every other few minutes. All right, so it wasn't going straight by, but so I was able to quit my day job, on this, and that kind of opened up my mind to the possibilities of a guy like me who, in a video that I've shared with you, I said, I'm a kid who's from the neighborhood formerly known as Do or Die Bed-Stuy, but that didn't matter. Out on there's the other engine. Okay, that didn't matter out on these online systems, and we were using the phone then, dial-up bulletin board systems. This is pre-internet, and so I was just like, whoa, this is new, this is different. Let me see, where I can go with this. And so done a bunch of stuff over the years. and actually using Microsoft's tools.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into too much of the details on how I ended up, getting access to Microsoft stuff, but yeah. So I've been focusing on the Microsoft stack for a long time, and just really always focusing on using technology for progressive sort of things, to teach Black history since 95 on CD-ROM at first, and then the blackfacts.com site I've been running since 97. I was able, when I got Microsoft Developer Network subscription, I got access to SQL Server. And so I said, yeah, because you get everything that Microsoft, all the server tools. So I said, let me figure out a way to do database web stuff. What should I do it on? There were folks who were circulating these different events that happened in Black history. So I used that as the beginning of my database, built a system, asked for people to submit, and so it was sort of like a self-teaching sort of thing. Anyway, fast forward. Yeah, so blackfacts.com, we've got different events going on. Obviously, we showcase different events going on. So, for example, today is it's 2025 now, right? So the 103rd anniversary of one of the 9 predominantly Black fraternities and sororities, Sigma Gamma Rho sororities. So we have a little video on their founding, and we have an extensive video collection. But this isn't about blackfacts.com as much as a continuous thread of my work has been using technology to tell stories and make information available to folks, as long as they've got internet access. And so Civic Chat is coming from that same space where in New York, you will get this in the mail if you're registered to vote. This is the voter's guide, general election voter's guide, which is in English and it's in Spanish. And in the voter's guide, it tells you about
only 2 languages.
Only 2 languages, right.
New York City, yeah.
It tells you about different offices and and stuff like that. So I said, because I've been using generative AI for the past couple of years, everything from GitHub Copilot, I think this is like 2.5 years, maybe, using GitHub Copilot, Chat GPT. Of course, I'm starting to mess around with Microsoft Copilot too. And so I said, what if there was an AI powered tool that would do what this does and then more? Meaning, because as you pointed out, it's in 2 languages. Well, here, so in New York, the melting pot of the world, the New York City's official information is in 10 languages. Okay. So we've got English, Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Bengali, Haitian Creole, Korean, Arabic, Polish, Urdu, and French. A lot of times, because of some of the populations that are larger here than many other places, many places will also do Yiddish, Greek, Italian, Tagalog, Punjabi, and Vietnamese. And so
substantial voting blocks within New York City.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And and a lot of people who come here from other countries, it's funny, I'm going to avoid politics, but on the Statue of Liberty, which is in New York, it's been there for a long time, it literally says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses." We've heard that, right?
Yeah.
But your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Yeah, it's poetry, but yeah,
it's poetry, but it's also, it's like, you know what? Yeah, New York has kind of been on that vibe for a while.
They got
it. So you have people from all over the world, who English is not their first language, but they're New Yorkers, and so.
Also they're not going to understand the ins and outs of local politics versus state politics versus national politics. Yeah,
English is my first and only language. I speak a bunch of computer languages, but English is the only human language I speak. And I don't know. To me, the easiest question You know, pun or joke intended to our
Yeah.
our comedic friends is with when it comes to government, who you going to call? Right?
Yeah.
Not the Ghostbusters, right? But if you want a speed bump, on your street because kids, playing in the street, who you going to call?
Yeah.
Busted light, who you going to call? Whatever.
Yeah.
And so the idea was to create something that would bridge that gap. So, if I can do a quick screen share.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, I did mine first, but okay, we'll hand it back over to you. But real quick, just for the audience.
Yeah.
This is so when you come into the hackathon, these are the 3 challenges that we've got people working on. And the one we're talking about today is Civic Chat. And we try to keep these kind of broad. And there's a lot that you can do here. But I think the idea is use AI to build, should be a mobile experience, probably.
Yeah.
Something that helps people understand what's going on in their politics. What are the positions that people have? If they're looking at a ballot, what should they do? It gets very complicated. And I think there's a lot that can be done here. And you've certainly played with this idea already. And but yeah, let me hand it over to you, because people, this is all I've given people to like start playing. So let's give them some ideas.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned the larger vision, right? So there is, let me make sure, share tab audio, and we're going to do that tab. Okay. So at civicchat.nyc, there is what I call a proof of concept of the very first capabilities. So what exists in this demo, and if you run this on anything other than Edge on Windows, your mileage may vary, meaning that it may really suck. Right? But so you see all these different languages and regional versions. Like, for example, Spanish. Well, there's not just official Castilian Spanish. You've got all these different, dialects and etc. So what this proof of concept does is let you pick a language, and then depending on the language, you may have different voices, and then pick a particular particular office. So we just had a mayor's election. And so when all 3 of those are selected, then we play.
Oh, and we might not be picking up the audio, and that's just a problem with the platform here that I don't know how to do. But
okay, so you did not hear audio.
Yeah, we did not hear audio.
Okay. Trust me, it did speak.
It's the best part of the demo. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh no. It's okay. So let's say I'm picking Vietnamese, and you'll see there was only 2 voices now. So, and again, you're not going to hear it. Trust me, it's speaking.
Yep.
It's probably more interesting, when you use a language that has a completely different character set. Like, actually, we've got a few Chinese dialects, and so what's really happening here is that we're using the built-in language capabilities of the device. So when I call this a proof of concept, this is just one feature, which is, hey, tell me how these offices operate or what they're responsible for in my native language. But you're very limited by what you're running it on. So you bring up the same URL in Chrome, it's going to be a lot worse. Try it on your phone. Don't forget about it. So my vision of even for that basic functionality was to make it device independent by using services like Azure Translate, and then generate MP3s, throw the MP3 out into storage, and stream that. Throw it into storage. Why? So you don't have to foot the bill every time you generate it, because this is fixed content, right? But what you spoke to before, the screen share, was the larger vision, similar to the book that I was showing. Not, what about ballot questions? Those are written in kind of confusing ways.
Yeah.
Vote yes, to not prevent this from happening. They're like, oh, what's going on, right? And so there's that, and then there's also when it's election time. There are a lot of folks out there who think that New Yorkers just elected a communist for the mayor. And so he's a self-identified democratic socialist, but that's not a communist.
Yeah.
And so the idea of having a way where you can talk to your phone or your computer, but in my fantasy world is that the phone, the mobile penetration in about 100 countries, not just the US. And I'm saying that because something like this, in my best of all possible scenarios, could be something that can help inform citizens of countries around the world to understand. So from the inception, I imagine this being an open source kind of tool that will help people learn about the ballot questions. What do they mean? But also, as you actually, I believe, mentioned, candidates. You've got these candidates who are running. They're asking for your vote. Well, wouldn't it be great if you could find out what their positions were on certain issues that you care about, based on their official websites, what they post on social media, etc., and be able to say, look, my name is Ken. I live in Brooklyn. I'm 62 years old. I'm middle class. Blah blah blah. Here are things that I'm concerned about. This person is running for office. Where do they stand on those? What have they said? Not what is a talking head, Abel Show said. What have they said? And so that the vision is really to use AI as a tool to look up information, present it, understand what the user is interested in, and not make recommendations ever to say, oh, you should do this, but to say, you're very close, in positions. And so I think I think I touched on the vision for the features, and from a technology side, I believe that there's opportunity both for this particular use case, but for a general sense of having some module. And this, for all I know, this could become a product for someone, have a module that you give it some text and you give it the language. Voices can be tricky in terms of, because there's different languages that are going to be provided by different services. So maybe, for each language, you have a preferred voice. When I say it's tricky, it can make the process more less hands-free.
Yeah.
But imagine you were like, hey, give me this information, and I want to be able to have it spoken in the language and be able to have that put into anyone's website. So those are the kind of things that go on in my mind about what could be done with this sort of tech.
So I get really excited about all of our responsible AI problems and issues, but the framework and how we address them, right? And so you think about inclusiveness and fairness, and that should be part of the political system, both of those for sure. And
right.
And I think one of the things you called out that is really important is you're not asking the app to come back. You're not asking the AI to come back and say, what's the right way to vote here?
Right.
Who's right? Like it's not about who's right. It's it's provide information, but you're not keeping score. There's no right answer. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's about informing folks. So, both of us have been in tech for more than a minute.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably fair that both of us have been surprised at how wrong so many of us were, that having information at your fingertips would not solve the ignorance problem.
Yeah.
It's like, I used to think, we were headed for Star Trek, because everyone's going to be enlightened and everyone's going to know the real thing. So having an informed citizenry, I believe, is best for the people of any country.
And I think this is where it can get tricky, and you've got to make some interesting, like, stylistic choices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the interesting things about AI is you give it a prompt, it comes back, gives you some responses, and then it says, well, here's, three other things, like, three other directions we could go. Like,
right.
Well, this has interesting possibilities in the context of, if I vote for this person, how are my taxes going to raise, or why am I standing in line at the Department of Motor Vehicles? Who's the person I can, it's the paths that it can go by. You want to keep it open-ended. You don't want to dead end anyone.
Right.
I think so let me, like, maybe try to give a little practical advice to a hackathon team. So they've got 2 weeks. They've got to pull a team of 2 to 5 people together. And then they've got to figure out what they want to build and do a proof of concept. I think the first question that, I always ask is, like, how much time should you spend planning before you start writing any code? How would you approach that? There's no right or wrong answer here, right? Like, you just get it.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, you know what? I am just all in with using AI. Right.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, I talk to the robots all day. That's how I program things. So I have any number of different projects where I will iterate. I'll go through several iterations of an idea before AI code generators. I would say before I would write any code. Now it's not as risky to write code. But so here's my process nowadays, right? I'll have a conversation. I'll talk through. And when I like what I have, then I will go to another step for either, let's talk through some screens, maybe. Close your eyes. I use my voice recorder a lot, and then send it into AI, only because I found the voice recorder to be most stable for just talking on and off. I might have something that's 20 minutes long, and then you got to transcribe it. I just happen to use Slack as a drag and drop my audio thing. It generates a transcript. Boom, I throw that in AI. Other tools could do the same thing, but the basic idea is to help reduce the friction in my ideation. I'm very used to thinking in my brain and talking. That's real easy for me to do, right? So I'll talk about it, and then I will pass that off to the AI, and I'll ask the AI for things like, have I overlooked issues around security, robustness? What could be some of the architectural decisions or directions I go where I don't need to build in the system now, but I could have the framework or a certain approach where you plan to expand later, and you won't have accidentally painted yourself in a corner. That's very easy to do if you try to go too far, with a particular idea.
Yeah.
And then also big believer in unit tests.
Yeah.
And so I will, like, with something with a system like this, right? I will say, well, look, what are the languages that I need, to develop? And one of the things, anyone who takes this on, one of the things you're going to realize very soon is that there's a certain amount of learning about language support in tech, i.e., there's a difference between taking translating printed text and going from speech to text and text to speech. Different services offer different solutions, and then even the voices. You have your, what is it? I think it's TTS voices that may sound a little on the robotic side, but then the neural voices sound better, but then you're going to have to pay money all the time, so there's a lot of these things that you're going to have to figure out. I just brain dump it into the AI and talk about my objectives and ask for suggestions, and I will ask for pros and cons. Give me pros and cons. So I'm saying these are
another good feature for Civic Chat, by the way.
Which one? Well, pros
and cons.
Oh yeah, of a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, not just pros and cons from my perspective. I would suggest asking pros and cons based for other folks, because there are certain things depending on your station in life. Like my family, we're not wealthy, but we have happened to own real estate, so that takes a whole lot of existential daily concerns off the table.
Yeah.
So, but because I try to be a fair and reasonable person, I am not going to think like, oh, you know what, I'm going to vote for on behalf of the things that the vulture landlords would want. So I'm going to ask with housing related things. So how is this going to impact folks who are working 2 jobs to try to keep a roof up? How does it impact them? So I think there's lots of interesting opportunities for an AI tool to share information. But I mean, I could imagine someone could identify themselves as being more or less concerned about certain demographics, certain social, economic levels, etc. Because we all, I believe, are very good at thinking about our own concerns and our own interests. But I think that if we're really going to be talking about using technology for good, we've got to think outside of our own personal situations and think about people who do not have some of the benefits that you and I were sitting in comfortable spaces talking on computers over the internet across the country. Those things right alone, right there, maybe a third of the planet would love to have and can. So I think that if we're going to be doing it under the banner of technology for good, I believe it's incumbent on us to think outside of our own personal needs and situations and think about other folks who we might be able to use our skills to lighten their load.
And we could keep talking down this path for long. I'm gonna like go to one other sort of topic for us because we'll run out of time. But so I will also just say quickly, unit testing, offload that to Copilot, GitHub Copilot, or whatever AI tool you like.
Yes.
Just don't have the AI do the unit testing for you. But one of the things I was going to start by asking, like, okay, let's say you got a team of 4 people working together, and you've done your ideation. Now, how do you divide up the tasks so that you can all get this job done in whatever time you got left for the hackathon? Now, that's a hard problem. But the other thing and you can maybe talk about all this or just whatever you want to, if you're designing an agentic system, like let's say we've come up with, well, there's going to be a language agent, there's going to be a policy agent, there's going to be a past voting history agent, however you break up those tasks. Like, do you have each person go build an agent? I don't know how you do it yet. I don't know if anyone does.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's the AI.
It's like, I don't have to manage a team of developers and a team of developers.
But since I mentioned it, but didn't take the thought as far as you did, the unit testing, right? I think some of the power of unit testing is that if you think about those different roles as boxes and think about, well, what do those boxes have to have as inputs and outputs? Create tests that, given certain inputs and outputs, and you can run tests, then I believe you're setting up a scenario where different people As long as if I'm doing one module and you're doing another module, as long as we agree on how we talk to each other, then I can do my unit tests, and you can do your, and as we agree that anything we're passing back and forth is going to be helpful, then I believe, I could be wrong, I'm making this up, right? And I always know
makes sense to me. I can see the Visio chart. I mean,
yeah. So one of the things that I've started doing with AI, and I suggest to other people, is ask the AI. When in doubt, ask the AI.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this for a while, you can tell, right? But the AI comes up with great suggestions. I give it as much detail as I can, right? I give it the richest amount of detail, but then I often will find that I get suggestions that I had not thought about. And so what you're describing there of, having a team and you've got to, divide up the universe into these things, that strikes me as a perfect question for AI.
Yeah.
I just sort of it feels like circular reasoning, but.
Yeah. So we are at time. This is fun. I know we can find you on the hackathon site. I've seen that you've registered.
Yes. I did, although I'm not sure if I will have time to try to do anything or not.
Yeah.
So I am going to ping you to ask you sort of like, how can I be of most use?
We'll follow up, and the questions are going to come in. I'll point people to Ken when I have to, because they always come to me first. But
all right,
like I think I probably say this every time we talk. I've got more energy now than that started. So thank you. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the passion. Thank you for the great idea. I want to see what people build. This is going to be some cool stuff.
Well, and thank you for the opportunity to promote the idea of technology for good, because, sorry if it sounds too corny, but too bad. I've been very disappointed at the lack of effort that I've seen in, this industry that has created so much wealth and comfort for so many people, but it's very difficult for me to think about examples that I'm aware of, and I would love to know about examples of people who have said, you know what, let me use this knowledge that I'm getting paid very well for, and let me use some of this to try to make things better in my family, in my community, faith group, in my, my school's education, whatever.
Yeah.
And because I don't think that it is such a big stretch. I did a workshop a couple of Saturdays ago with the Brooklyn NAACP on AI for the community, and was just showcasing how we can use AI for non-work, kind of things. And actually, the lady, she and her husband visited Ghana, and she said she was thinking about writing a book. So I turned on Windows Key H for record, speech recognition, had her speak a little bit, and bingo, in 5 seconds, there was, a few paragraphs, called Glimpses of Ghana. I asked her to read it. She was in tears reading it, because it spoke so well to her. The point being, AI has so many possibilities for people of every station in life. And if nothing else, I would hope that those of us who are using it can share with our family, our friends, how you have the access to most of the combined knowledge of the human race in your hand.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, let me get off my soapbox.
I couldn't say it any better. So go ahead and roll the credits. Thanks so much, Matt.
Matt, thank you.